I started with a confession that sounded almost too honest to be famous. She said she was young and dumb, and she said she was in love. She laughed, but the laugh felt heavy, like it was covering years of regret. That one sentence quietly explained everything that came next. This story was not about one bad decision or one bad night. It was about a woman with fire in her voice, loyalty in her heart, and a system that never planned to protect her once the shine wore off. Back then, Eve Jihan Jeffers was known for being fearless, sharp-tongued, and unafraid to stand in rooms full of men and rap like she owned the space. She had that pit bull energy, the kind that did not bark for attention but bit when disrespected. In 1999, she became only the third woman in hip-hop history to debut at #1 on the Billboard 200. That was not luck, that was hunger. She sold millions of records in a single year, stood shoulder to shoulder with DMX, and still knew how to smile for cameras and charm the world. She was strong, feminine, confident, and unapologetic, and that balance made her rare. At that moment, it looked like nothing could stop her. But even while the plaques were piling up, the ground under her feet was already cracking. The industry loved her voice, her image, her numbers, but it never truly loved her as a person. Behind closed doors, Eve was navigating fame without protection, learning lessons the hard way. She trusted deeply, loved fully, and believed people when they said they were on her side. That was one of her greatest strengths and also one of her biggest weaknesses. She gave her heart the same way she gave her bars. All in, no filter. Before the headlines and scandals, there was a girl from West Philadelphia who learned early that respect was not handed out, it was earned. She grew up fast. Her mother worked nonstop, her father was not around, and the streets taught her how to survive before they taught her how to dream. She did not try to be the toughest, she tried not to be invisible. In those early days, she sharpened her words like weapons because that was the only way to be heard. This is how she survived being underestimated again and again. When she stepped into rap circles as a teenager, she was surrounded by boys who believed hip-hop belonged to them. Eve never asked for permission. She stepped into ciphers and flipped their confidence against them, rhyming so clean and sharp that the room went quiet. People remembered her not just for skill, but for presence. She had courage, quick thinking, and a refusal to back down. She did not win by playing safe. She won by being herself in a space that was not built for her. By the mid-90s, her hunger led her to Los Angeles and into the orbit of Dr. Dre. For a moment, it felt like destiny had finally lined up. She changed her name, sat in legendary studios, and believed she had made it out for good. But destiny took an unexpected turn. The industry shifted, priorities changed, and suddenly there was no plan for a hardcore female rapper who refused to soften herself. One phone call later, she was dropped and sent back home with nothing but disappointment. No one explained why. They just moved on. That rejection hurt, but it did not break her. Eve had resilience stitched into her personality. She carried that pain straight to the Rough Riders, a crew known for raw energy and no excuses. They did not see a problem. They saw potential. They pushed her hard, tested her skills, and when she proved she could stand with the best, they crowned her first lady. Long nights in the studio, relentless work, and no shortcuts rebuilt her confidence stronger than before. When her debut album dropped in 1999 and hit #1, it felt like justice. She had been counted out, and now the world was listening. Fame, respect, and success all came together, but success did not mean safety. It only meant more eyes watching her every move. By the end of that rise, Eve looked unstoppable on the surface. Inside, she was still that girl who wanted love, approval, and belonging, and that part of her never left. That is where the story began to twist. The next phase of her life looked even bigger on the outside. She did not just survive hip-hop, she crossed over it. She moved from gritty rap records to global hits, from street respect to mainstream fame, and it happened fast. One moment she was the Rough Riders' first lady. The next she was sharing space with pop stars, movie sets, and award stages. When her second album came out, the sound felt smoother, but her edge was still there. Then came the collaboration with Gwen Stefani, a song that exploded across radio and television. Rock met hip-hop, and Eve stood confidently in the middle of it. She became more than a rapper. She became a global name. The Grammy win that followed felt like validation, like the industry had finally said yes to her. But even at her highest point, she was still fighting old wounds. She remembered being dropped, ignored, and doubted, and success did not erase that memory. Around this time, she stepped into Hollywood. Acting came naturally to her, and from the outside, her life looked perfectly balanced. But behind the scenes, the support she once felt began to fade. Meetings grew colder, and powerful people started pulling away. Then came the relationship that changed everything. She began dating Suge Knight, a man whose name carried fear, power, and history. To her, it felt personal, but to the industry, it was political. Suddenly, her personal life became a business problem. Old rivalries resurfaced, and she found herself caught in conflicts she never asked for. Executives kept their distance, opportunities slowed, and the message became clear without being spoken. Certain choices came with consequences. Her talent did not change, her work did not decline, only the support disappeared. When the relationship ended, the damage had already been done. Albums received less promotion, radio calls stopped, and budgets shrank. She felt watched, judged, and slowly pushed aside. This was not a loud downfall, it was a silent one, and silence in the industry was more dangerous than bad press. She felt trapped between who she was and who they wanted her to be. By this point, she was still famous and respected by fans, but no longer protected. The pressure kept building until it finally broke. Late one night in Los Angeles, she crashed her gold Maserati into a median. Headlines came fast. A Grammy-winning rapper charged with drunk driving. Mugshots replaced red carpets. But the crash was not the beginning of her fall. It was the result of years of emotional strain. Behind the scenes, she had been numbing herself just to cope. Alcohol became an escape, and pills became a quiet companion. She was dealing with the aftermath of a toxic relationship and the pain of feeling discarded by the industry. After the arrest, support did not come. Instead, the industry stepped back. Acting roles slowed, music opportunities vanished, and the narrative around her changed almost overnight. She was no longer seen as a pioneer or a star, but as a cautionary tale. She entered rehab and disappeared from public life. Silence surrounded her career, but away from the spotlight, something important was happening. She began to face herself. Therapy replaced interviews, and healing replaced performance. It was slow, uncomfortable, and real. Years later, when she returned with new music, the industry had changed. The response was quiet, but she did not break. She had already survived the hardest part. Instead of chasing approval, she chose peace. She stepped away from the pressure and redefined what success meant to her. The ending of her story did not come with a dramatic comeback, but with something quieter and stronger. She built a life based on stability and love, choosing a path that felt safe rather than chaotic. From the outside, people called it retirement, but it was really a reset. When she returned during the Versus era, the reaction was instant. Fans remembered, new audiences discovered her, and her impact became clear again. Her music had never lost its power. It had simply been waiting. She reclaimed her story by telling it honestly, speaking about addiction, relationships, and the industry without hiding anything. She did not rewrite her past, she owned it. Later, she sold her publishing catalog for millions, a quiet but powerful validation of her legacy. She did not celebrate loudly because she already understood her worth. Eve's story was never about chasing fame forever. It was about survival, resilience, and choosing herself when the system failed her. She broke barriers, reached the top, and walked away when the cost became too high. In the end, she did not fail the industry. The industry failed her. And the moment she chose her own peace over its approval, she won in a way no award ever could measure.